Well, good morning, almost afternoon. Got two more knives to get started on. Got this one roughed out. This is a Amazon I think is how you say it, style chopper, cleaver chopper. Now this one is for another Army Ranger. Now these Rangers are coming out of the woodworks. This is for my little big brother, my big little brother, Staff Sergeant Reuben. This is reclaimed steel. It is a little over an eighth of an inch thick. Very nice chopping knife, especially for taking out the woods in the field. So big handle. Y'all have heard me talk about my buddy Reuben before. His hands look like catcher's mitts, so he likes a big handle. So there it is, roughed out. Before I do anything else to it, I'm going to drill the holes for the pins and the lanyard hole. And we're going to take this one to the sandblaster and see if we can't do a blast finish on it. It'll be gun blue, but it'll be blasted too. Have that little rough look to it, except where it's ground. And I had another one I got started, and I mentioned before when I was doing the handle on the Natchez Bowie, I was down to one blade in my metal cutting bandsaw, and it is so dull it will not cut the other blade I got to cut out. So I've got to go to the hardware in the morning and get another blade, or another pack of blades. No big deal, just have to drive up there and get them. But anyway, we're going to concentrate on this one, and I'll see how much I can get done today, and we'll carry on tomorrow. That's right, Rangers lead the way. Now, this reclaimed steel is probably 100 years old. It is hardened. I managed to get one hole. The rest of them won't drill, so I'm going to have to anneal it, which means we're going to put it in the forge, get it really hot, close up the forge, let it dry naturally, and I won't be able to work on this one again till probably in the morning. So there we go. Gotta do it right. All right, our chopper has cooled down in the forge overnight. I was able to, and that just softens it, annealing, softening, that's what that means. If you didn't know, a lot of you do know. I was able to get my pin holes, got 3 1/8-inch holes and a 5/16 hole for the lanyard tube, brass lanyard tube. And next step, I'm going to take it over. I got to get the let's square that ain't quite straight. I'll do that while the air compressor is getting pumped up, and we'll go to the blast cabinet and get it all cleaned off. I don't know how I missed that. A little bit of off. Let me take care of that first. Maybe, hopefully, should be able to finish this one today. Alright, we got that scale blasted off of there. A little tougher than I thought it was. But we're going to wire brush it next. Got the cutting surface defined nice and straight. I'm going to do this in just a minute. I'll just knock that scale off the spine, and the handle we'll do last. We'll just put that on the grinder and rough it up, knock that off so the epoxy will stick. And let's see what it looks like after we wire brush it. And then we'll put the maker's mark here. Then we'll take it over to the grinder and get the jig set up. Yeah, see about putting some bevels on there. Gonna be a good one, Tater. All right, got it brushed up. wire brushed. A couple little spots here and there, but that's going to be just fine. Now, next thing I want to do is put on the maker's mark. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and clean it up a little bit of acetone. And I had a requested video on how I gun blue, or how to gun blue anything. And we'll use this one as an example, and I'll show you when we get to that point, because we're going to do this one by hand because it won't fit in my tank. I've got to build a bigger gun blue tank and order some more gun blue, which is also very expensive. Everything's expensive. Breathing air and drinking water is expensive nowadays. Okay, that's going to be clean enough right there. Now get out the stencils and we'll do the blade etch that I've shown quite a few times. Then we'll be ready to go to the grinder and grind the bevels. Alright, maker's mark on there. Use the larger one for the larger blade. Now let's go grind the bevels. Then we'll heat treat. And then we'll gun blue. Then we'll handle. Alright, got my bevels ground. Now before I heat treat it, got some 400 grit sanding pads. I'm just going to blend this in a little bit. Now somebody I was asked a while back about heat treating, and I don't remember if I answered, but the reason you do it. Now this steel was very, very hard when I first roughed it out. And then I had to anneal it, remember, to drill the holes. And it softened everything. See this file here? See? Grabs right into it. Heat treat it. That will harden the steel. Then we'll temper it, bring a little bit of that hardness out. Now this one I'm going to do an edge quench. I'm not going to quench the whole blade while it's really hot, because all I really want hard is the cutting edge down in here. Now this is just leftover layout fluid when I measured my bevels. And I got some criticism a while back. Do you know what layout fluid is? Well, yes, I know what it is. Yes, I do use it from time to time. But anyway, that's all that purple stuff is. Now I'm just going to blend this in a little bit on both sides, then we'll go out and heat treat. I don't know if I've ever shown an edge quench, but I'll just take the camera out there with me and show you when we get to that point. Alright, got our blade in the forge. Our quench tank down here. Do some fancy footwork here. Just put the camera right here. It's the main thing. I'll show you all the quench. The whole thing will get hot, but what we really want hot is just the edge. Might take a few minutes. Y'all want to watch? Nah, that's pretty bored. I'll turn the camera back on in a minute. Alright, we're up to temperature now. Nice dull red. You don't want to get, I see too many people get things so hot. Way too hot. You don't need all that to achieve what you're trying to do. Edge quench. good measure, we'll go ahead. Now that edge will be much harder than the rest of it. We'll see if we're still straight. And we are. We may get lucky and get a forge finish off of this one. Not have to gun glue it. See some people do that shaking up and down thing. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, there we go. Now we're going to lay it out here and let it cool. We'll go wash it up good with some degreaser. And be back in a minute. Whoops. Alright. It's cooled down out of heat treat. Same file I used before. Check for hardness. See, that file will not bite into it. Very, very hard blade. Now, maybe too hard. So we're going to put it in the oven and temper it 400 degrees for about an hour, and that should do it just fine. Now I was thinking maybe the forge finish would be okay, but it's not going to look that good. So when it comes out of the tempering oven, we'll clamp it back down to the table, sand it off real nice, and get ready for our gun glue. In the meantime, while this is in the oven, I'm going to have a sandwich. Alright, we're out of the tempering oven. Got everything cleaned off, sanded up. Gun bluing. Now, I did have a requested video on how I gun blue. I'm going to show you. The biggest key to it is having your surface very, very clean. Smooth and clean. Now, once you get ready, you can clean it with acetone, some type of degreaser, or regular old rubbing alcohol works just fine, which is what we're going to use today, because I'm just about out of acetone. I used to use alcohol all the time for cost-wise because it was so much cheaper, but nowadays, have you seen rubbing alcohol in the store? Almost $4 for that bottle right there. But it is what it is. Got it sanded off smooth. Gonna keep cleaning on it. See all the gunk coming off of it. Just like that. All surfaces that you're gonna glue needs to be very, very clean. Make sure there's no dust there. Now, you can't make something clean on a dirty spot. So go get us a clean spot. Just keep going till we get it all off of there. And don't worry, I don't worry about the handle, because that's going to be epoxied on. There will be no oxygen or water or nothing like that will ever get in there. Just sand it off smooth like that is fine. Yeah, still got a little bit. Make sure it's nice and clean. Yeah, let's take our rag and get us one more clean spot. Now, the rubbing alcohol 70% or more, 90% works a little bit better. But that'll work just fine. Okay, we're just about there. You there? Now, it's clean. No. alcohol, acetone, any of it, it won't take just a few minutes for it to dry. It'll evaporate off of there. There we go. Make sure it's nice and dry. Now, like I mentioned before, I think this is too wide to go in my quenched. I usually dump it in a tank of gun blue. But a bigger blade like this, I've got some in a jar. You can see that. And I use a foam brush. Make sure the alcohol is dried up. Saturate that brush. Just like that. Get a good heavy coat on there. It looks streaky right now, but that's okay. Get our spine. Turns really black like that, or dark blue right off the bat, you know you got a good clean surface. And this will be the first 2 coats, maybe 3, depends on how it looks. I like to spread it all out even. Now the instructions call for let it sit for, I think it's 2 minutes, and rinse it with cold water. Alright, we'll go out to the sink, and by the time I get through talking, by the time I get to the sink, it'll be 2 minutes. You don't want to scrub it, just rinse it. Once it's rinsed off, take your finger. I'm not going to try to drag the camera out there, it's trying to rain again. Rub it off good, then take a paper towel or something and lightly clean it off. Let it dry, and I'll show you that step back in here. Alright, first coat. Now, before the next coat goes on, steel wool. I use 4/0. Take a piece out. The way I do it, you don't need a whole lot of it, so I just cut off a little piece like that. Because this stuff is like anything else. It costs money. Supplies will run you in the poorhouse if you ain't careful. But anyway. Once you got it rinsed and dried off, clean it off, rub it down with that steel wool, clean it off, rub it off, whatever you want to call it. And that takes that film off of it. Just like this. And what that gun blue has done is penetrated that steel. That's your waterproofing, basically, rust protection. Okay, now that looks pretty good, but let's go ahead and be safe about it. Take that same rag that you had before, still damp with alcohol, wipe it down again. Go through that process all over again. It's not going to take the blue off. It's just going to clean the surface. Get a little more on there. And if you read the directions on your gun blue when you get it, it's basically, this is what it says do. Okay, it's nice damp still. Can't stress enough, the way it turns out is it's got to be clean. Very, very clean. Okay, and I think we're just about there. Alright, we're there. And we'll do the same thing again. And this will make it a little darker. See, it don't soak up quite as much as fast. Because we've already got one layer in there. Just like that. On the second coat, I'll leave it about 3 or 4 minutes, a little bit longer, just so it can penetrate a little bit more. That's the way I do it. But don't let it dry. If you let it dry completely, then you got a problem, because it will start to draw the impurities out, and it will the chemical, the gun blue, will overreact. That's what I mean. There we go. Now we're done with this. Now give it a few more minutes, and do the same thing. Rinse it, clean it back off, rub it back down with the steel wool, and that part of it is done. Then we'll move on to the handles. I've already got my handle wood selected, laid out over there, and we'll cut that and see that here in a little bit. There we go. 2 coats, I think that's going to be just fine. Now at this point, if it's going to be a few days before you get back to it, now this is the same whether it's a knife blade, a gun, anything like that. It needs oil on it pretty quick. It wouldn't hurt to put oil on it now, but being as I'm going to epoxy the handles on now, I don't want any oil anywhere to seep up in here, because that will keep the epoxy from curing properly. At this point, I wrap it up with a paper towel, just like this. Don't use shop towels. Well, you can if you want to, if you can afford them. Just plain old paper towel. One ain't big enough for this place. Two, just like that. Just anything to cover it. But whatever you put on there, remember, it needs to be clean. Don't put an oily rag on there or something like that. This blue painter's tape is absolutely a must-have. I found a big package of this, 4 or 5 rolls in it on Amazon a while back for not much money at all. And it works just as good as the expensive stuff you buy at the home center. So, because it's not on there long and you throw it away anyway. So there we go. Like that. Now, before we epoxy the handles on, and we'll go to the other side of the table for that, because It's set up just for that over there. And that was sanded with an 80 grit belt. Just rough it up to where your epoxy's got something to stick to. Don't worry about the edges because you'll grind all that off. You don't have to be as persnickety about cleaning this as the blade, but make sure most of that gunk is off of there. And that'll work just fine. Now we're going to go to that side of the table and get our wood out, cut, and get us some epoxy mixed up. Alright, I'll go ahead and show you the whole process of how I do this. Mix up our epoxy. Take some more of that painter's tape. Put that down right there. Now this is our handle material. This is dark hickory. I've not used it in a long time, but this stuff is almost as hard as the steel. Very, very tough. Very durable. Okay, got our Devcon epoxy. This is the resin. Don't need a whole lot. And the hardener. There is a mixed ratio, but it's about 1:1, and it's easy enough to just guess that's about right there. High-tech tool stick. Mix it up good. And what the tape does when it's done with it, just peel it off and throw it away. Okay, that should be good. Now this is quick set. It'll start to set within 5 minutes. You have to work pretty quick. You can use a brush to do this also, which I do at times. Just depends. The way I do handles, I've said before, is different than most people do it. But it works for me, and it normally works every time. I never have issues with pinholes not lining up. Okay, hold back from the edge because we don't want much squeeze out to clean off. Just like that. Centered up where we want it, right about there. We're going to cut that off and trim all that off. Right about there. Put another one over here. There we go. Now that it'll set in about 5 minutes, but I like to give it at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I take it out and start messing with it. That's our alcohol rag still. Clean our stick off. Throw that away. We do the other side, we'll put us another piece of tape down and do the same thing. Now this will be done today, I hope. It is a half day for me. It is Sunday. I debated on cutting the grass or finishing this knife. And it's fixing to rain again, so grass cutting's out for today. While this is drying, I got another knife I'll work on. No rest. No rest. Alright, let's wrap up this job here. big chopper. Now this is very similar to, as I said in the beginning, the Alamazon chopper knife that is on the market. It's not the same. It's not a copy. I've never seen one of theirs, so I've not copied anything they've done. I have made a few of these. We're going to call this the Ranger. Okay, because this is for my little big brother, Staff Sergeant Ruben, who is a Ranger. Man, that thing is sharp, and that's what he asked me to build. And there it is. Now this has been on the book since before my surgery, so it's a little long time coming, but I got her done. Now this is a pack sheath, just a sheath to cover it, keep it protected. Load it up in your pack. And this one fits blade side here. It's like this. Snap right there. And that's the rare upside down Wallace Knife Works Maker's Mark. I wasn't paying attention when I stamped it, so oh well, it's upside down. This is a dark hickory, very, very hard handle, hard material, sanded up smooth. Lanyard hole here with a brass tube in there. 3 pins. Now I mentioned on the Natchez Bowie knife that I redone the handle on. I would not recommend chopping that or trying to baton it, or if you had to. This one you can. You can baton this, beat on it, not with a hammer, with a stick or something like that, and you're not going to hurt this one. This is a little bit more than 1/8 inch antique saw blade steel. It will handle most anything or anybody you come across, or any critter. So there you go, one Ranger finished. That'll be on the way in the mail. I have a massive mail out tomorrow. I've got one more I'm finishing up right now to go with the Natchez Bowie. I'll show you that one. Different video. I didn't do the whole video, I didn't do the whole build on it, but I'll show you that one next time. There we go. There is the Ranger. Thank y'all very much for watching. Thank you for your support, and I will see y'all next time. Hit that thumbs up button. Thank you.